tuned in to the Andrew Lawton Show.
The UCP leadership race is in full force. We know that the party is going towards a contest for who's going to become the premier of Alberta and then lead the party into the next election now that Jason Kenney has announced he's stepping down. And one of the candidates is the former Alberta Cabinet Minister, Rebecca Schulz, who joins me on the line now. Rebecca, good to talk to you. Thanks for coming on today.
Hi, Andrew. It's my pleasure. Good to see you again.
Yes, we caught up at the Canada Strong and Free Networking Conference in Ottawa. And at the time, we didn't even know there was going to be a leadership race. And here we are, and you've announced your candidacy. Why is it that you want to be the leader of your party and the premier of Alberta?
You know, I would say that first and foremost, I believe in the future of our party, but also in the province of Alberta. We have so much to offer, and we need somebody who can stand up and defend the constitutional rights of Albertans, make sure that we continue to drive economic growth, and keep our party united so that we can defeat the NDP in 2023. Our provincial election next year is in the spring. And so I think, you know, it's been a really difficult time. I think obviously everybody knows that. And I think instead of vilifying each other and as conservatives, focusing on some of the things that divide us, we really need a leader who can bring us together, remember who our true opponent is, which is the NDP, and take them on here in Alberta next year.
You know, we had a leadership review for Premier Kenney that was very close, virtually 50-50. So no matter which way someone goes, the party is divided. The party is split down the middle. How do you not just build a winning coalition from that in the leadership race, but beyond that, when you have that division in your party?
You know, and it's tough. And I think, everybody largely, whether I'm talking to party members or Albertans, I think people agree that they fully expect governments are going to make decisions that they disagree with. I don't think it's that. What we've heard is that, we've gotten off track. Our government has done a lot of really great things. Our economy here in Alberta is kind of on fire. We're taking off coming out of, like I said, an economic recession, a tough 2 years. Our unemployment is at the lowest rate since 2015. More jobs created every day. Things are looking up, but we did get off track. Oftentimes people say it was our tone. We felt like how you were communicating decisions didn't show that you heard what we were saying. We didn't feel heard. We didn't feel listened to. And so I think, A, we have to switch the tone. B, I am so dedicated to the conservative movement. That is not something that's new for me. I think we need somebody who understands that the grassroots party members engaging with people, door knocking, getting out there, listening and taking action, that's important. That's just as important as governing, is keeping our coalition together. And so I think, it takes somebody that's highly motivated, very committed. The first thing I committed to do is door knock in every single constituency across this province, meet with our local UCP community boards and those presidents, make sure that they know that they have a seat at the decision-making table and that they're heard. I'm willing to do that. Our opposition here, they are highly motivated. They are working very hard. They are very disciplined. And we need a disciplined team. We have an awesome team. We have amazing, talented MLAs, and they want their talents and strengths to be used as well.
Looking at the field itself, two of the early candidates to get in, Brian Jean and Danielle Smith, were coming into the race as outsiders from the caucus. Well, I guess Brian Jean, not as much of an outsider from the caucus now, but outsiders of the caucus over the last 2 years, and certainly from the cabinet. You were a member of Premier Kenney's cabinet, and obviously there's been a lot of controversy about the handling of the COVID file, and I know you weren't the health minister, you weren't responsible for that file specifically, but how have you felt the reception in the last day since you've announced from the members towards you being a part of a government that wasn't popular by the end of it with a large chunk of the members?
And I think the reception has actually been really positive. Like, we kicked off the campaign yesterday and we've seen a lot of support. I think part of it is because largely what I've heard is people, it's not just the decisions that were made. And even on COVID, even at my announcement yesterday in my constituency, there were people on all sides of the COVID issue in one room, united around our conservative movement around my candidacy. And largely, I think, again, it's people had an issue with how some of those decisions were made, how they were communicated, the tone. They want to see people's differing views respected, right? And that people aren't being vilified for holding different views. Me being able to say that out loud and say, look, we didn't do everything right. And my colleagues, I know many of them sitting at that table would say the same thing. We didn't get it all right. But I'm willing to tell you now, here's what I'm hearing from you. I want you to hear it from me so that you know I'm listening, and that I'm going to show you the humility that you want to see in your government and your elected officials. Because it's true, we're not going to do everything right all the time. But I think people want somebody who is committed to them, who wants to hear them, and who shows some humility and not just talks about it.
Were vaccine passports, in your view, a policy itself that was wrong, or were they a victim of that poor communication that you just mentioned?
So I would say, we in Alberta did do things a little bit differently. We tried to make sure that there were exemptions to that program, the restriction exemption program, recognizing that there were people making different choices for various reasons. We also had major issues with hospital capacity. We did. We knew that was an issue even before the election, even before COVID. But, it's really, I think it's hard to say. It's easier to sit on the sidelines and look at some of those issues. But when we were really, truly making some decisions around full ICUs, hospital capacities, essentially crisis in the healthcare system. And I think that's the issue we need to focus on, is fixing that, because we don't want to be in that position ever again.
I know we'll have you back on for a more formal interview later on in the race, as with the other candidates. This is more of an introduction. So I'll give you a question that you can take any way you'd like here. What is it that your campaign is about?
So for me, our campaign is really focusing on getting back on track, saying that, look, as Conservatives, we do well when we come together, when we do not compromise on our Conservative roots. But I also think that we need to show some compassion and common sense when we're making decisions. That is, largely, I think, what Albertans want to see. And I think that that's going to help us unify and stay motivated and focused on, like I said, who our opponent really is. I do bring a unique perspective in terms of I am, just as excited about grassroots campaigning as every other aspect of the job. I firmly believe that Albertans want to see a competent Conservative government. I know they do, especially with what we're seeing in the economy right now. But also making sure that people are communicating, people like me communicating, you know what, I'm listening to the concerns of everyday Albertans, right? We want a strong economy, we want jobs, but we also want to make sure that you got a family doctor when you need it. I have 2 young kids. I want to make sure that they have a great education. That matters to me. And so we got to talk about that stuff as well. And that's what I'm committing to do.
All right. Well, Rebecca Schulz, the Calgary Shaw MLA and former Children and Youth Services Minister in Alberta, congratulations on the campaign launch. We'll talk to you soon. And thanks very much for joining.
Thanks, Andrew. Anytime.
Thanks for listening to The Andrew Lawton Show. Support the program by donating to True North at www.tnc.news.